Kyler Murray is named QB1 for the Minnesota Vikings. I got to first get your thoughts before we go to Kevin O'Connell and for his comments.
Well, I guess first thought is I'm sure McCarthy is the only one that's surprised that Kyler Murray has been named the starter. And then my second thought is this is a golden opportunity for Kyler Murray. And it is most likely either the end of McCarthy in Minnesota or the end of him being a starter in Minnesota, unless an injury takes place. That'd be my initial thought.
And that's very possible for a few reasons. One, Kyler's not a big dude, so he has been subject to injury in the past. As fast as he is, as shifty as he is, that sometimes plays to your disadvantage too because of the different injuries he's sustained, moving around, whether it's a hamstring, what have you. So those are all things that, although they can play to his advantage, and if you asked him, he would say that, his running ability makes a difference when it comes time to play games. And if you're comparing JJ McCarthy and Kyler Murray in that way, I don't even think it's close. I mean, Kyler Murray is pretty dynamic in the manner in which he can, juke guys out, get outside and create. JJ McCarthy has some ability to do so, but it's not to the degree of Kyler Murray. And so I think when we saw the Vikings sign Kyler Murray in the first place, it was writing on the wall. And it makes sense for a team that, when I look back at last season, this is a team that went 9-8. They kind of had an up and down start to the season. And after the bye, they lost it. And they were trying to figure out a way of getting it back. And they did the last 5 games of the season. I think they went on a 5-game winning streak. But the truth of the matter is it wasn't their defense. I mean, they were a top 10 scoring defense and total defense situationally. And it wasn't really the running game. No. I know the numbers look bad in totality, but if you actually break down based on yards per attempt, like they were top 11 in the league. So this is a team that most likely felt, especially looking at last year and looking at previous years where they've had success, they were a quarterback away. And Kyler made the most sense based on for what they were willing to, what they could get, what they were willing to offer, and maybe a destination for a place that I think he fits within their outside zone scheme, everything they want to do. So I'm not surprised by this either. And I think the timing of this being so early, I mean, we've got other quarterback battles. For example, the Cleveland Browns, if you really want to get into it, with Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders, and a lot of the conversation about the depth chart and, a Watson or Sanders and how that's being done, or even backup jobs that are being fought for. So I look at this and say, this is no surprise. It seems a little bit early. And so people behind closed doors must have said, let's just rip off the tape. And I go back to something that I've said to you before. I love that they got this done early. I'm not against competitions. I've always said that. But it gives them plenty of time so that everyone now knows officially Kyler's the guy. There's no indecision in the locker room. He's who he is moving forward. And so I love that for the Vikings if they want to get back to what they were last season defensively and have an offense that can put up some points. Because Kevin O'Connell has proven the ability to do that as a play caller when he's got a competent quarterback play. But let's get to Kevin O'Connell with some of the sound from him announcing this.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of kind of reports and things out there regarding our quarterback situation, and just wanted to start out and say, we did, after some dialogue in-house and just kind of daily, analyzing the overall of where we're at right now, we did name Kyler Murray our starting quarterback. From the outset of the offseason, I think we've been really intentional, open about, kind of the goal of creating just a competitive environment filled with wildly capable players that could then obviously elevate our quarterback room through that process, and in doing so, elevate our team.
And now let's hear from Kyler Murray.
I mean, the whole process was great. Full transparency from KO to me to JJ to everybody in the room. The competition was what it was, and it's everything I expected it to be. I didn't expect to be handed the job or anything like that. I just expected to come here and compete, and I'm very appreciative of how it was handled.
I mean, I think when you listen to both, it feels like they kind of knew what was going on, LaVar.
Of course. The moment he got signed, he knew he was going to be the starter. The moment they signed him, they knew he was going to be the starter because, quite frankly, they knew that JJ McCarthy wasn't going to be the starter, Q. And we all know how that plays out. We all know how that feels. You mentioned the Cleveland battle. Well, you're talking about a guy that they brought in to be the starter and paid him a large sum of money to do so, which now commands the opportunity for him to still have an opportunity to maybe give them a return on their investment. And Shedeur Sanders was a late-round draft pick. So there's no real financial pressure at all to play Shedeur Sanders or to start Shedeur Sanders. So when you look at what happened with JJ McCarthy, it just hits different, right? You're talking about a guy that they drafted to be their starter, that they drafted pretty high, that they didn't pay Kirk Cousins because maybe they felt like JJ McCarthy was going to be the answer for them. So when he played the way he played last year and you saw the production of Justin Jefferson go down, you saw the production of this passing game go down. I believe he threw more interceptions than he did touchdowns last season, if my stat line reads right. Q is just one of those things. If you have a team, and Aaron Jones, I'm a fan of Aaron Jones. I still am a fan of what he can bring because he's one of those guys you talked about when you said, the multi-dimensional back that can be a receiving type of back. You can move them around, and they have versatility. He's still got a little tread on the tires, and he can be really good for them out of the backfield. And then you have a core of guys on the inside to the outside, from Hawkinson, as we talked about yesterday, from Addison to Jefferson, and they brought in Jennings. That is a loaded – what quarterback – you're a former quarterback. How excited would you be to have O'Connell as a coach and this amount of talent? You have a safety valve and a safety blanket in Hawkinson and Jones, and you have game breakers, maybe the best receiver in the game in Jefferson, and you have an amazing addition to Jefferson with Addison. I just think that for Kyler Murray, this is a golden opportunity, and you would assume and you would hope that maybe what he feels leaving Arizona the way that he did, maybe some unfulfilled, goals that he may have had, some unfulfilled promises that may have not taken place there. He probably has his head on tight, and he's not worried about no video gaming, and he's ready to make do of this, make the best of this. So I think it's a great situation for everybody going into it. But I'll say that with the caveat of saying it's always a great situation until it's not. Right.
And to your point about JJ McCarthy, last year, 11 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. So he did throw more picks than touchdowns. And I think one of the things that people kind of became, very aware of was just some of the inaccuracy. I mean, the completion percentage is one number, but even when you're watching the games, you just felt like a lot of even the completions just weren't catch and run balls, weren't where they needed to be. And he really struggled with that. And that's something that comes with time and comes with experience of playing. Started 10 games, but let's not forget he missed his entire first season. So he's a player that I think he played a lot of college football. The more he played, the better he got. And that's something that it's unfortunate for him. He's not going to get the experience at the NFL level. And that's a little bit of what a lot of NFL quarterbacks have to go through when they enter the league now is, some would say, hey, we want you to sit for a year, watch, learn. That's fine. But as soon as they jump onto the scene, they better be able to produce right away. They better be able to be the quarterback they're hoping they're going to be right away. If they're not, they're forgotten about. And again, I'm not saying that JJ McCarthy warranted being the guy when this organization feels like they're in a sweet spot with players like Justin Jefferson, with your guy Aaron Jones, you love so much, with the defense and the way they've played. So I can understand the not desperation, but the desire to want to say, hey, man, we were a 9-8 football team, and we felt like we could be a lot better than that. And this is a team that's won 13 games under Kevin McConnell in the past. So I look at it and say, I completely get it. They need to have an upgrade at the quarterback position. And they did it, and they got Kyler Murray in there. And people tend to forget, man, Kyler Murray can play some really good football. I mean, he was the offensive rookie of the year when he came in. He was a multiple Pro Bowl caliber player. If you statistically look at him, he doesn't take a lot of sacks. He's extremely shifty and mobile. He's usually very good taking care of the football, and he's productive. So this is an offense that I think, from a personnel standpoint, really fits what he's capable of doing. But also when you look within the scheme, when you have a guy who stands, what's he at? Probably 5'10",
7. Oh.
I don't think he's that short.
My bad.
I don't think he's. I don't think he's riding a horse.
I was just looking at the
tomorrow.
video I sent y'all yesterday, and I was just like, I thought maybe 5'7".
Yeah, for those who don't know, LaVar wanted to go ahead and partake in all of the jokes about Kyler Murray and the announcement of him being the starting quarterback. I saw,
him standing at the podium, right?
At the podium, where you just saw the very, very
his
top of his head.
His forehead,
some hair. Yep.
Yeah.
That's all you can see.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, the podium was too high. It wasn't that he wasn't tall enough. It was just that the podium was too high. Yeah,
I wonder if he gets tired of the short jokes. It's
he
like,
has
dude,
to.
I would think so. I mean, he's honestly had a pretty decent career, and he's made a decent amount of money too. And it's like, dude, yeah, I get it. I'm short, not getting any taller. And he's like, but I'm still out here making millions of dollars, and I'm about ready to be your starting quarterback in Minnesota.
He's a good dude. I spent some time with him. I was with him back when he was in high school, the Under Armour week. I got some time to be around him all week. Like, he's a really solid dude, and he comes across. You know how in our world, in sports world, we all have different personas. Even if we've done multiple sports, like, different sports guys have different personas, but sometimes you get, like, you have a quarterback persona, but if to know you kind of have like a baseball player persona too. He has a baseball player persona, right? And it's like kind of comes across that way. So he's a little bit more endowed in like that type of way. I think us as football players, we would take height harshly, like call me short, like I'll pop you in your mouth. But I don't feel like baseball player persona. Like I don't know that they carry things that way. It's like a little different. It's like it's okay. Like it's okay that I'm short. In fact, my strike zone is a little smaller, so I have a better opportunity to hit the ball than you do. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I think he's good with the height thing. And honestly speaking, the dude almost threw for 4,000 yards with who as his receiving core, bro. Right? Like,
yeah.
You almost get to 4 Gs, and you had nowhere near the firepower you have right now. All he has to do, maybe after the whole Tesla thing, maybe you don't put it in autopilot. Maybe you really do have to drive it, but just let the vehicle do what it does. Let the tires and the wheels and the suspension and the engine and all those things, let it do the lane assist. Let it do what it does. You don't have to do too much with this offense, especially the way they're going to scheme things up. I think this sets up to make Kyler Murray look like like an amazing football player this year. But with that being said, you know me, I always give the other side of it. It does set him up for he just can't get it done if he doesn't get it done with this group of guys that he's with and this coach that has had so much success with every player except JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
Don't be JJ McCarthy.
I was just saying, like, to me, if you were and there's that. I mean, it's funny you bring that up because this feels a little bit like Trey Lance in the sense of a guy that you draft in the first round that you believed you could develop into something, and they've had him in house now for 2 years. And whether or not you want to say anything about his first year, but they watched him practice to some degree. They were around him. They were around him all last season. They've seen him now and his personality and who he is as a leader. And I think if Kevin O'Connell truly still believed in him as his guy, he would have found a way to let this thing play on a little farther. To me, the timing of all this is what matters the most. Is we're getting this before we even get into anything in the preseason.
I've seen enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Q, look at this. We've seen enough.
Yeah, we're good. We don't need to have these conversations.
We don't need to drag it out. We've seen enough.
No.
But have you seen enough of Kyler
me,
Murray, or have you seen enough of JJ McCarthy? Has
it's
Kyler Murray been that good? Okay. All right. I just feel bad. I feel bad for the guy, man. But he's a Michigan guy, so I don't feel that bad. But I do feel bad for him a little bit.
No, but to your point, it's funny. Like, there are some quarterback battles that are won, and there are some that, well, no one really separated himself, and we just have to make a decision. And those are the toughest ones to make. I don't think this is that. I think right now you've got a team like Cleveland that's, for example, in that situation for whatever reason. I mean, if you follow the social media that's following the stats of the Cleveland Browns, you can't feel optimistic about this season. Because you're sitting here saying, I don't care who the quarterback is this year. I'm looking into the draft next year. Based on all these social media tweets and comments about how some of these practices are going. But I digress. The point is, this could be a big year for Kyler Murray. He, to me, immediately rockets into the conversation of being like a comeback player of the year, which if you take into account, last year not getting to play all the games, and whether you want to say was it due to injury or them, not playing him because they wanted to be able to trade him or release him, whatever you want to point to. He only played 5 games last year, and that criteria is rather wide, encompassing. So I think Kyler Murray would fit in one of those categories where if Kevin O'Connell can work his magic, he'd be a guy that I would look at putting some money on right now, and that I feel like could really have a big-time season, assuming everyone stays healthy, he stays healthy. That's the only thing, obviously, that gets in his way a little bit, because he is so mobile. It's not because of his height or size, but I do think he fits in this system. When you look at a lot of the wide outside zone running scheme, they can figure out ways of getting him out of the pocket, getting him back deep so he can see over the line. Like, there's nothing that prohibits his height included from him being the quarterback that Kevin O'Connell needs him to be. And it is interesting. Ever since that whole clause in his second contract in Arizona, you have not heard one word about video gaming. At least it doesn't feel like it. So either he's kicked the habit, he's figured out how to hide playing it better, or he's just gotten to the point where he's like, this doesn't matter as much. I'm getting close to 30, and I need to focus more on football and how I perform. So that is the plus
and I wasn't
side
wanted,
of everything we see.
Right? In some type of way, you got to say. And I was not, and it ended in me not being wanted where I was at. When you're a premium, max out type of competitor, that hits a certain type of way, man. It hits a certain type of way, and I'm sure he wants to show that he's the player that he knows he is. So he's probably just super motivated to have, a strong season. So I wouldn't be surprised. And again, it shouldn't be that hard to have the type of season you need to have if you were dealing like you were in Arizona and you had nowhere near the firepower you have right now and support from your defense and the running game, your coaching staff. It just sets up well for Kyler Murray to have the type of season where you were like, dang, I forgot he was that dude in Arizona. Like, that could be the conversations we find ourselves having.
Yeah, I think when you look at the roster and who all they can throw to, right? I mean, Justin Jefferson, obviously, arguably the best receiver in the league. Jordan Addison's had his moments. Juwan Jennings, they brought in from San Francisco. They still have your boy Hogginson, a tight end, along with Josh Oliver, who's very capable as a pass catcher. You've already mentioned Aaron Jones about 12 times, so I think we're good there. But they've
Aaron
got
Jones
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
They've got a bounty of riches, and it just comes down to execution at this point. And again, we saw that with Sam Darnold the year he had there, which obviously led to him moving on to the Seahawks and winning a Super Bowl. maybe that's where Kyler Murray's career goes. You know, it feels like Kevin O'Connell, very similar to Kyle Shanahan's, one of those quarterback gurus that the more you're around him, the more you're with him, the more he helps improve your game. And you talk to guys like Sam Darnold and listen to his comments about that experience of being there and how much they prepared him and taught him how to play the game. And it can be career changing. So maybe that could be the case here for Kyler Murray.